Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year. I'm Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, and I'm here at the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville, along with Blount County Sports Hall of Famer Donnie Moore and longtime sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons. Carson Newman assistant football coach Tony Iruli will join us. The Tennessee Vols begin SEC play, and we're going to the whistle blows. And now let's set today's lineup card. Donnie Moore will fill us in on the latest high school basketball scores, and we'll follow up with the top national sports news. Marcus Fitzsimmons will be on board to update us on what's happening in local high school sports, and I'll jump in and talk some college football playoffs and preview today's Tennessee-Arkansas basketball matchup. We're happy you're with us. Let's break the huddle and dive right in. Guys, Happy New Year to all of you. And Tony Iruli, it's great to have you back. You've been on the holiday circuit, son.
Seeing all family, Italians have a lot of relatives. All right.
Yeah.
And some of them we're not quite sure who they are and how they're in the family. But we went down to Florida, had big New Year's Eve dinner with all the relatives. We had about 45, 50 people there at the. I got third and fourth cousins twice removed. They're all there.
Yeah.
And but
cousins by the dozens.
We had them all. And so, but it was great. A nice meal together. We had Santa Claus there. We had a Grinch come by to take some of the presents, and he got lambasted by all the grandkids. I mean, I've got to show you the video of it. I mean, it was.
I'll bet you.
I mean, if you ever want to see a Grinch get beaten up by about 9 to 10 grandkids, I got the video to show it to you.
There it is.
But it was a lot of fun. We had a
You
great
got
time.
proof.
Yeah.
Got down there and saw Mom, and so it was wonderful.
Yeah. Well, we're glad to have you back.
Good to be back.
Yeah.
Marcus and Donnie, good to see you again this
Thanks,
morning
Mike.
on this
You too.
cold, blustery day outside. And you know what those days are called? That's Indiana weather out there this morning. And as usual, I'm homesick.
There we go.
Summertime,
homesick.
right? Summertime in India.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I always tell people that, we used to play shirts and skins outside on the basketball courts in this weather up there.
I believe it.
Yeah. I got a couple of letter rips this morning.
All right.
A couple of them.
There's one thing about letter rips. There's always something you can rip. And I'm going to lay off that walk-on player at Georgia got in the way of the official because I feel really sorry for that guy, and I'm not going to take that any further than
they kept showing him throughout the game, and even with like a minute left to go in the game, the announcers were still kind of picking on him and all that.
Yeah.
And, the guy that he's probably his only chance he's ever going to be on near the football field because he's a walk-on kid.
That poor guy. Has Carson Newman contacted him in the transfer portal yet?
Yes, we have. We are.
You were probably right on the phone there.
We are doubled our NIL deal with him, so he'll go to Bojangles twice during the week.
Well, we're not going to go any further with that poor guy than that right there this morning. But I want to talk a little bit about Texas and Arizona State there. Arizona State was driving the ball there on their last possession against Texas there in the fourth quarter, and they needed about 10 or 15 yards to get in field goal range, and I think it was third down, and there was a hit by a Texas defender on an offensive player there of Arizona State. Appeared to be targeting, and they took a look at it, and they didn't award the targeting, but Tony, I'm ripping the replay officials on that deal because I'm going to tell you, all the replays that I saw on that and everybody that's commented on it, everybody's asking why in the world did they not call targeting on that play right there. Of course, that was big because that put Arizona State in a position that they could kind of run the clock down right there and kick a field goal and win the football game.
Sure.
And on a tremendous comeback by them. So explain that to us. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I mean, they've got the replay officials looking at it. I mean, it's clear it was targeting, and
textbook.
And you know how I am because I
know what the rule says.
Yeah.
I mean that was a prime example of targeting, and for them not to make that call, I just don't understand it.
Well, see, that's one of the things I don't like. I don't like the way the rule is written to begin with. So I'll say that I don't.
No.
But there's 3 sections of that rule where they list the criteria. In one of the sections, it specifies crown of the helmet. In one section, it just says helmet.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're the official interpreting it,
open to interpretation.
It's open to interpretation whether the crown of the helmet is involved. And if it's the crown of the helmet, then that's fine. What happened was okay. But either way, I'm like, if you want to, you've created a rule that puts it in the officials' hands to determine intent, pretty much. Mm-hmm. It's not supposed to be part of it, but does anybody think the guy intended to hit him that way? No. But that's it seems to be the thing, is if it's part of the game, they'll let him go, and if it looks like that somebody was trying to do it, then they'll apply it, which is making it judgmental, which wasn't what we were trying to do.
Here's what it looked like to me. It looked like a basketball call at the end of the game, and you're down 1, and you throw it inside there, and you got a really great shot right in there to win the game, and they just hammer the guy, and the 3 officials are going, "Hey, I'm not going to decide this game.
Yeah,
I'm not going to decide this game. I'm just going to let it go as a no call."
I think
and
that's
that's
the way,
it. That's
the way
what
it
it looked.
happened.
That's what it looked like to me, guys.
Yeah.
Now I don't know.
They said, I've heard various people say it did not matter that the pass was tipped. Is there a different rule, like that it would matter, because is that a free ball at that point that the receiver no longer has protection?
No, I mean it still should apply to the call and all that. And like I said, I mean you got officials there, you got a replay guy there, and it was, I've seen targeting calls for a lot less than that situation being called in. So I just think that just
I don't know where the replay officials were from. Now, if they were from the SEC, and the way the SEC's been struggling, they might say, "I don't know about this deal, boys. I think we better let this go right here."
If I remember correctly,
maybe the Texas is all we got left.
Wasn't it a Big Ten crew?
And they were right.
Because it was Big 12 SEC?
I don't know.
It was either ACC or Big Ten crew, one of the two.
Yeah.
Okay, well. Anyway, hey, and the other one is I've got this morning. I want to talk about Alabama and South Carolina. 2 teams that before, when they picked the college playoff teams, at Alabama and South Carolina were kind of politicking that, hey, we should get in, and Alabama was hollering strength of schedule, and South Carolina was saying, hey, there's nobody in the country playing any better than us right now. We should be in. Well, they decided not to play in their bowl games, obviously. Because Michigan beat Alabama 19-13, and South Carolina was defeated by Illinois 21-17. And Coach, what really rubbed the wounds wrong there. Those were 2 Big Ten teams, that beat those 2 schools, and I guess it's really disappointing endings for both of these teams. But I guess you could look at it 2 ways. You take a team like Ohio State that lost a tough game to Michigan, and they've just gone into the playoffs and said, hey, we're going to prove to you that was a fluke, and they're playing lights out right now. And then on the other hand, you would have thought that Alabama and South Carolina would have gone on there and said, well, we're going to show you that we deserve to be there. Sort of like Georgia did last year against Florida State.
Correct.
Even though Florida State didn't have those players, they said, well, we're going to show you that we should have been there. But kind of disappointing for these 2 teams right there, and you kind of think, well, these were probably the 2 most deserving that were still out there, don't you think?
Sure.
As far as making the playoff.
Yeah, and the publicity is always, SEC is so much better than the Big Ten, and and it should, we should be able to beat those teams, and Alabama didn't play. I mean, it is the worst offensive performance from Alabama that I've seen in many years.
It was the worst start I've ever seen in college football.
Yeah. I mean, it was.
They were down 16-0 before they even blinked. When
you basically, if you count the going for it on 4th down as a turnover, 4 turnovers in your first 12 plays.
Correct. I mean, it was bad, and now Alabama's defense played well, but all those things were happening inside Alabama's 10-15 yard line, and so it was very disappointing. They had nothing going on offense the entire game. The South Carolina game against Illinois, I was born, me being from originally Illinois, I was born for Illinois.
Yeah.
But I tell you, the best thing was the almost fight between the head coaches, during the game and all that.
Yeah.
And that would have been really interesting to watch.
Yeah, I was getting. I thought we were going to get a little big time wrestling in there, or maybe a little NASCAR. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt.
I thought there was going to be a little beamer ball going on. And but
Rubbin's racing, huh?
Yeah, I don't know how Beamer would have come out in that fight, though. You know what I'm saying? He's a pretty big guy.
He's definitely got the size advantage over him. All that. But it was a good game, and South Carolina really played well the last half of the season.
They really did.
Yeah,
they really did.
And that was a very good game between both teams and all that.
And you look at the playoffs and Tennessee. You got number 3 Tennessee was knocked out. Your number 4 team and your number 5 team, beaten in the bowl game. So you're sitting there looking at Georgia, and you're looking at Texas. Yeah. And, of course, Georgia won the league, and then, they didn't play real well the other night against Notre Dame. So, it's just –
no.
I don't know. I've brought this up on this show time and time again that, we live down here in an area that they kind of see everything one dimensional.
Yeah.
And that's like, well, Ohio State don't play anybody. Michigan don't play anybody. Notre Dame, for crying out loud, they've never played anybody. Now look who's left. Look who's left in this deal. Ohio State's left.
Yeah.
Notre Dame's left. Penn State's another one. No, they don't play anybody. Big Ten don't play anybody.
Yeah. And look what's happened. Well, again, when all the games were played, all the conference champions lost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. All the teams that had a first round bye lost, and so So, I mean, maybe the selection committee's got to
if you want to think about it, if we had an NCAA tournament and we got to the Sweet 16 and we didn't have a single number 1 seed left, that's what we just saw.
That's right.
Every number 1 seed got knocked out.
Yeah. And until they tweak this thing, and from what I hear, they're not going to tweak the system for next year, for the 2025 season.
All right.
So we're going to have it another year like it is. But until they tweak it and stop the deal where the Power 4 conference champions are in and get a bye.
Yeah. No, I think the Power 4 champions, obviously, like I said, should get in, but not get a bye. I think the bye needs to go by.
Shouldn't have anything to do with seeding.
The bye has to go.
Yes, that's correct.
They should just take the 12 and seed them all.
Correct. I totally agree.
And I think if you took a poll, most of the coaches would be questioning whether that bye is a good thing or not.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, when you go 0 for 4, you got to think maybe that bye is not such a good deal.
Maybe that wasn't the way to do this.
Maybe that's not the reward you thought it was.
Yeah.
Because you've got the other guys have been basically in game mode for 10 days and are going into practice week that week just like a regular week, and you've been off for almost a month.
Well, we're going to talk about this later in the show, but no Alabama. No Georgia.
No.
And we've been used to those two teams forever, but Alabama seems to be in kind of serious trouble right now.
Well, yeah, they're
in
big transition.
Georgia, not taking anything away from Notre Dame, it just didn't look like the same Georgia team to me that we've been used to seeing in the playoffs. To be real honest with you, and I don't want to take anything away from Notre Dame because they played very well, I think, in the football game.
They did,
but it just wasn't the same Georgia team that we've seen in these playoffs the last few years.
Well, and remember, Georgia played without their starting quarterback.
That's true.
That's true.
And Notre Dame played without some offensive and defensive linemen.
Right,
they're pretty beat up too.
Yeah.
But I'm like you, Tony.
But still, when you don't have your
your quarterback's your top dog.
Yeah.
And you look at these 4 teams that's left in the playoffs. They all got excellent quarterbacks.
Correct.
They all got excellent quarterbacks, and there's no. And I think the kid there from Georgia, played well at quarterback. He didn't get any help.
No,
he didn't get any help out there. He had some drop passes, and the player getting in the way of the official on a big play, and I mean things just didn't go the way that they needed to go for him. But it's the fact that he didn't have very much experience, I think he handled himself pretty well back there.
Yeah.
But
and same thing. Hats off to Notre Dame, because no one really thought Notre Dame was going to be able to win this game due to their past performances over the years.
Yeah.
And Coach Freeman, I mean, he's done a wonderful job upgrading that system. And obviously, God was paying attention to Notre Dame, because I know there was some heavily intervention going on. Being a good Catholic boy that I am.
Yeah. Obviously,
my mom said rosaries.
He's paid a lot of attention to what they're doing down here in the Southeastern Conference, because Kirby Smart, after the ball game, said that they had SEC material.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a real compliment,
Sure.
because normally up there, because of their academic standards and so forth, that hadn't really been the case.
Right.
Because, you look at those games that they hadn't done well in the playoffs. Notre Dame, when they played Alabama and Saban, didn't look. That just didn't look like they matched up very well.
Correct.
But they matched up pretty well, taking the quarterback situation out of it as far as up front with the offensive and defensive line and the secondary and so forth.
Yeah.
They matched up pretty well with Georgia, I thought, the other night.
Yeah, they really did. And I think in the transition we're going through to the NIL stuff and all that, I think those academic standards are now, everything's kind of going by the wayside.
Yeah.
You just get them into school. You know, they don't need that 3.4 GPA to get into Notre Dame anymore. Just get them in, and you know, that's, and being an employee of the school and work to get a national championship. I think that's the goal.
Very good. Hey, let's talk some Tennessee basketball. And by golly, it's another week, and that basketball team over there just continues to roll. Rick Barnes has got them at 13-0, and Marcus Fitzsimmons, they tied a volunteer record there last week when they beat Winthrop 67-52, a record that was set back in 1923 and 1924. That's been a while back.
Yeah, it has.
With 13 consecutive wins to start the season, and they can break that record today with a win over Arkansas. I know a lot of people don't know much about Winthrop, but that's a pretty good basketball team, by the way.
Yeah.
That's not one of your they just beat Winthrop. They went up and gave Indiana, who came down here in a scrimmage game, beat Tennessee. Winthrop gave Indiana all they wanted there about a week or so ago. So you know, that was a good win, and now they're getting ready to start SEC play. But Marcus, I want you to comment on this 13-0 start.
Well, I will say I didn't see that coming. I mean, that was not – if you would have asked me for a bold prediction about how far Tennessee could go before it lost its first game, I wasn't going to double digits with it. I mean, there's bold and then there's being –
foolhardy.
Yeah. I mean, maybe someplace in Vegas had a prop bet on that and somebody made out like a bandit, but Tennessee has started real well. I just want to see what they can do now that league play starts today, and it's a grind, and nobody's expecting them to go through without dropping 2, 3, 4 games at this point. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well,
we'll see how well they play.
When you go 13-0, I can tell you right now, you spoil a lot of people. And when you lose 1 or 2, you're like, I told you, they just hadn't played anybody, and they didn't play anybody that was ranked, and you know how that that kind of goes with people.
They fall off the bandwagon quick.
They do. That's sort of the fans' way to do it. But we talked about this before. They had a lot of named schools on there. Virginia, and Illinois, and Syracuse, and go on and on and on, and Louisville, and you're thinking, boy, those are really good basketball schools, but they're down. Tony, they're down right now. They're not. Their programs aren't where they need to be. Some of them are playing better now than they were playing when Tennessee played them there the first part of the year. But regardless of that, in this day and age, if you can start 13-0, I don't care who you're playing.
Yeah, and at the same time, we got to give kudos to Rick Barnes. I mean, this is an outstanding coach. I mean, he goes every year. It seems like he's got to reload, and they lost a lot of guys from the previous year, and regardless, heck, he's 13-0, ranked number 1 in the country. I mean, this guy, year in, year out, put together an outstanding team.
In my opinion, and Marcus, you can comment on this, but in my opinion, the reason he's been successful the last 2 or 3 seasons especially is the fact he's hit that transfer portal real hard. Mm-hmm. You look at this basketball team this year, and it's not too much unlike the year before. That transfer portal is making a big difference over there. He brought in Chaz Lanier. He's brought in Milichik.
Yep.
And those guys, and Phillips. I mean, those guys are outstanding players. And then you go with the guy that's been here, your point guard, who's been around and knows the system and knows Rick Barnes better than anybody, and that's Kai Ziegler, the leader on the basketball team, and Meshack that's been around. The transfer portal, I think Rick Barnes does as well with that portal as anybody in the country.
I don't know if we should be surprised, but what we've seen is that staff is very, very good about evaluating basic basketball talent. Not hype, not whatever you want, prestige or stars or whatever, but at a base level, they can look at a guy and see, does he fit our system? And They connect. He wasn't on anybody's radar last year.
Nope.
And they turned him into NBA material.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes a long way to selling the transfer portal as Tennessee being a destination. But they can find guys that fit what they want to do. And we know it, Mike. And it starts with their ability to play defense and willingness to do that. But they do a good job bringing that in and then kind of meshing that into a system offensively.
You mentioned defense, and I still think that's a big part of Rick Barnes. But I think with this transfer portal, he has loosened up a little bit on the offense and given them a little bit more leeway. And you can see that they're scoring a lot more points now than they were before they went to the portal. And that tells you he's getting more talent, and he's changed in some respects that way. But
what he's doing, he's getting those lower-end major college schools, all right, and using those schools sort of like a feeder system, to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Where he's going, I don't know, I'm just call some names, like a Davison level type of school or Garner Webb level type of school, and finding out those guys that are, the best players in that league and all that, and saying, yeah, this guy kind of fits what we're doing. Let's go after him. And so, obviously they're using those level type of schools as Connect. Where did he come from again?
Northern Colorado.
Northern Colorado. All right, not Colorado, Northern Colorado. Yeah. And so, and I agree that their coaching staff has done a great job of evaluating those players.
Yeah, you can talk about. Go ahead.
I just want to say, didn't I see last night where he had gotten a player back that had been in the transfer portal and left? That's transferring back now.
Yeah.
Played last year. Played quite a bit last year.
For
I can't
Tennessee?
remember who it was.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can look it up.
I tell you, you can talk about their defense, transfer portal, guys, but one of the reasons they're successful over there, and I've mentioned this before, I'm going to hit it again, they don't turn the ball over. They don't beat themselves. They're averaging 10 turnovers a game. That's 10 turnovers a game in this day and age when teams are going up and down the court. You're going to win a lot of basketball games.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
A lot of these teams, they'll turn the ball over 20 times, and you're turning it over 10 times. They're not going to lose those games. They're just not going to lose them. And he prides himself on not turning his programs and players pride themselves on not turning that ball over, and I think that's been a big factor. Hey, they got pre-conference schedule is over, and you can say, well, they didn't play anybody that was in the top 25. I think Illinois is now in the top 25, but I think when Tennessee played them, they were not. But today they're going to bring Coach Cal's coming in here, Donnie. He's bringing the Arkansas Razorbacks in here, and he's going to have some new colors out there. Instead of blue and white, it's going to be maroon, or I guess it's maroon and white.
It's Razorback red.
Razorback red, yep. Go Suey or whatever. They're coming in here, and they're ranked 23rd. And then, that's going to be a tough game this afternoon. Even though Tennessee's favored by 12 points, Arkansas is pretty deep, and I look for a pretty challenging game out of them this afternoon. And then they go to number 6 Florida midweek. So, Marcus, that stigma where you haven't played any ranked team is fixing to come to an end. Huh?
It'll end very quickly as we start league play, because this conference is right now so deep in the polls. I mean, I thought we might pick up a couple more losses in the last 7 days before conference play started, but not really. I mean, South Carolina's got 3 losses, and that's the bottom of the SEC with 3 losses.
Yeah, I think it's got 10. I think they got 10 teams in the top 25.
But you got. I mean, I think the big thing today is you have the NIL giveth and the NIL taketh away, and so does the transfer portal. Calipari had to rebuild everything at Arkansas. There was nobody left.
Yeah.
So it's building from scratch. You got a former Vol on that team.
Yeah, you got Jonas Adu down there coming back home today that left here for let's be honest with you.
That's who I was trying to think of.
He left for some more money.
Yeah.
He left for some more money. And he's down there, and he went to the right place, because you say, well, Coach Cal had to start all over down there at Arkansas. But, the guy that was backing him was a guy by the name of Jerry Jones down there, money-wise, with the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
And Tony Iruli, that's not a bad guy with some deep pockets to help your program out, huh?
Yeah, he's the right guy to have your back on and all that.
Yeah, you just give him a call and say, hey, Jerry, You know, you remember when you played here at Arkansas?
Yeah.
You know, we really thought a lot of you.
Yes,
How about helping us out a
you
little
are
bit right
my
here?
You are my new best friend.
You need another tax write-off anytime soon. But anyway, Calipari, he got well pretty quick down there. He brought him some, like Marcus said, that's a heck of a job when you're starting from scratch and you can bring in and you find yourself in the top 25 right out of the gate. That shows what the transfer portal and the NIL can do for you, Coach.
Easily. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, you can rebuild a team, you know, within a season, and you can do so much faster in basketball, because basketball you just need to get 3 or 4 guys, and again the right guys. Also now you've got a high level basketball program, and you know, again, Calipari comes with a winning tradition behind himself, and you know, it was a great move them Arkansas hiring him. So you know, he's, you know,
and think about what a sell that is, because you can tell you can literally tell these guys you're whatever you want with playing time, because there's nobody there. Like, you don't have any concerns about, oh, well, so-and-so's there on the roster and he was the starter. You don't have any of those previous starter concerns. You don't have any of those concerns about who's likely to get playing time.
Sure.
You're coming in with a blank slate, and you can basically tell them, hey, if you're good enough to play, you'll play. And they can – there's nothing to contradict that.
Right.
Well, Tennessee, another aspect of this game going in as the season progresses, Tennessee's using a 8-man rotation right now, Donnie Moore, and we've talked about it. And
we have.
I'm interested to see as the season goes on, hopefully they don't get any injuries.
Right. If they can stay healthy, that'll work for them.
But their guys getting a lot of minutes, you know. They're getting 29, 30 minutes, and especially this guy Sigler, and you're not real deep there at that point guard position. You really can't afford to have him off the floor for any amount of time. But I'm anxious to see as the season goes on how that holds up. Now, Arkansas is coming in today, and they play a lot of players. So we're going to see their depth against our 8 rotation. From a player standpoint, I'd rather be in the program with the 8-man rotation, because I'd rather be on the court than sitting on the bench, Tony, really. So I think from a player standpoint, you know, I think that you can get out there and get more in the flow of the game, rather than if you're playing 10, 11, 12 guys and you're out there for 3 or 4 minutes and then you're out and you're back in for 3 minutes. That's a hard deal for a player
like I said,
to do.
You don't really get the flow in the game, and you're, you know, and that's, you know, 3 or 4 times up and back on the basketball court, then you're out.
Exactly. So I think that that may be one of the advantages that they've gotten off to the good start, which is the fact that the players are getting a lot of playing time and they're acclimated and they get in the flow of the game, and they seem to be happy with all of that. And we'll take a timeout. We're going to take a timeout right here, but we'll be back when we come back, and we'll talk some more a little bit about the Tennessee-Arkansas game, and want to talk about how evenly matched these two teams are. Hey, we'll take a timeout here, and when we return, Donnie Moore will provide the high school basketball scores and news from around the area, and veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons joins us with his feature, Mark It Down. You're listening to the GoTeez Sports Page, Blount County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
For over 90 years, Anderson Lumber Company in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. Locally owned, so the money made here stays here. Whether you're renovating a kitchen, bath, new floors, doors, or windows, Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store and can take care of you from design to install. We welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa for all your home's needs, or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber since 1925. Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
Welcome back to the GoTeez Sports Page, and Donnie Moore, had some rivalry games last night in high school basketball here, didn't we?
Yeah, that's getting them in the books early right here, and that's a good thing. That's exciting for all the fans.
I think William Blunt and Heritage, if I'm right on this, I think they've already completed their series. I think they played there before Christmas.
I think you're right.
Out at William Blunt, and they played last night at Heritage. But fill us in on some of the top scores there around the area. Catch us up.
Thank you, and will do. Let's get started with our local scoreboard, sponsored as always by Mandy B. Street Realty. And we did have some action around the area in prep basketball last night. First of all, Alcoa traveled to Austin East last night. Still a region game, still a district game for this year. But and Alcoa swept a Twinville over there at AE last night. The girls' game was 56-44 in favor of the 12-4 Lady Tees.
You know what? That's a little closer than I thought it would be. You know, Austin East, the girl basketball in the past has been down a little bit, but you know, Alcoa was pretty strong and went in there and played a 12-point game last night.
That's true.
I thought that score kind of hit me a little bit.
Yep. AE must have played pretty well at home last night.
Yeah.
Then in the nightcap in the boys' game, also 12-4, Alcoa boys won a 77-61 victory over the Roadrunners. So pretty high-scoring game over there last night.
Marcus, I guess the Alcoa boys are starting to get acclimated with their football kids now and get in the groove.
Oh, I would say so.
Yeah.
I think the second round of holiday tournaments, we kind of saw it. The basketball guys, at least one of them is right back on track.
Yeah.
Mr. Football candidate.
Eli.
Finalist,
Goodness.
So
he's a pretty good basketball player,
he's
too.
An athlete.
Yeah.
He's just an athlete.
You know, I think we'll see a nice balance between what he can do and what Jimmy Dean can do inside and outside. He's a scoring threat from the perimeter as well. So Alcoa is getting there. I think the best thing about them right now is they have all these pieces that can work in different combinations.
Yeah.
And right now, nobody knows what to expect from Alcoa exactly. I mean, they can look at them on film, but the film is constantly changing as to who is doing what. It's not like what they've been able to do for 4 years, which was basically say, okay, there's one guy, we're going to try to stop him, or we're going to try to stop everybody else. We're going to do one of those two things.
Right, either or situation.
So, I mean, I think I would think Alcoa is making the best of what would be technically a bad situation, losing a Division I player to graduation.
Mr. Basketball.
And you're taking all those other pieces and letting them do something new and different.
Yeah. Well, that's probably a testament to Coach Collins, too, to realize that he can do that and make it work best for how his team is, his personnel is.
Yeah, and it's working. And the girls are doing something different, too. We talked about that a little bit when they came to visit. But, you know, they're pressing hard and doing it most of the game. And that's not something we've ever really associated with Coach Ballman.
No.
And, it's a change in pace for him. And I think the program's having good nights and bad nights with it still. But I think they're
on the right track.
They're on the right track with it.
Here again, there's that flexibility in coaching that is invaluable. Yeah. Well, congratulations to Alcoa for sweeping a Twinville last night. Eagleton at 3-10 traveled down 411 last night. Went south on 411 to Sequoia and played the Lady Chiefs. Don't have a boys score on that one. Couldn't find one anywhere. But girls got pasted pretty well by Sequoia last night, 54-31. So.
What's the record so far?
It is 3-10.
Okay.
Yeah. Greenback. Goodness.
Ooh.
They're a combined, 13 and 8's what?
13 and 8,
21, yeah. They're a combined 0-21 for the season in basketball. Greenback
they're
girls
not
and boys.
0-21, are they? Oh, they are.
Yeah, both teams are zero.
Okay.
Offers.
I mean, what's happened to the Greenback program? You know, where it was such a kind of had it on such high standard in all sorts of things happen during the football season and the basketball. I mean, something eternally has been going on over there.
Well, they've had so much coaching turnover in football.
Well, you see, I mean, I think there's been several stories that we've run over the holidays about this, but what we're seeing on the girls' side is the specialization that we always gripe about because we like the multi-sport athletes.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It used to be basketball took up. You know, they were the first ones to go to that kind of full year, like you could play high school, and then you played AAU, and then you played club, and you could play basketball year round.
Yeah.
And that was what coaches started to some coaches started to expect from their players. Well, now all the sports kind of do that.
Yes.
Where you can play volleyball year round, you can play softball almost year round.
I hate it.
So the kids are choosing, and the girls basketball is number 4 now in popularity.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got softball and volleyball and track ahead of it.
Last few years, it's dropped tremendously in participation rates.
At these small schools, you're not seeing as many kids playing 2 and 3 sports, and at a school like Greenback, that makes a huge difference.
Sure.
You know, that girls' basketball will be interesting to see over the next few years what effect the Caitlin Clark will have on that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that, you know, the emphasis on Caitlin and see if that will filter down, you know, into some of the high schools and change that Marcus a little bit.
Yet the participation rate continues to drop. There's a team in Indiana. I saw last night. The team in Indiana have got 2,600 in the high school, and they've dropped their girls basketball program because of low participation.
Yeah, and
it's happening in Nebraska. I think is the center point for this is that because they're having seasons canceled left and right.
Yeah,
in girls basketball.
Well, you know, it all started with basketball, where they had basketball all throughout the summer, and you know, for them to, if you wanted to be on the basketball team, you couldn't leave to start getting ready for a football season. And football season, they got all these throwing camps all throughout the spring, and you got to be involved in that. And
7-on-7,
7-on-7, the high quality. They give them all these premier 7-on-7. I mean, it's ridiculous. And,
I know.
You know, like I said, in our day, I mean, you know, I played baseball and football. All right, you know, short Italians are hard to play basketball. All right, you know, so I didn't do that. But I played soccer in the middle, and you guys probably all did the exact same thing, playing a couple of different sports. Now, it's hard to find. And small schools like a Greenback.
There isn't a comeback for this, or there isn't a way for a parent to take vengeance out when they get lied to about this. But you have coaches at various levels and iterations who will tell parents, you do it this way and you do with us outside the season, and we'll guarantee you the kid gets a scholarship. Yeah. And that's a huge stretch. It's unethical to do that.
That's such a bunch of crap.
That'd be a red flag to me right there.
I'll give you that.
But yet it's going on. It's going on
right.
continually.
I got, you know, my Carson Newman email and all that. I got approximately like 3,000 unopened emails from all these camps.
Good grief.
Yeah, I don't even, you know, most coaches, they don't even look at them. Mm-hmm. All right. You know, but they sell to these parents, you know, spend your $200 for this weekend, or, you know, that's how they make the money. And, you know, you know, most of the coaches, they don't even look at that stuff. They just look at how they play during the season and, you know, talking to the coach and all that. And, you know, it's a scam is what it is.
Well, you know, the state organizations have created a lot of you know, there's a lot of overlap now. Yeah. In other words, football season just goes on and on, whereas in Tennessee, the final playoffs used to be the final was Thanksgiving. Well, you know, that's been moved back. He put a bye week in there in football. Yeah. And then in basketball, you know, it starts, football's not quite over. When I played in Indiana, football was over completely before basketball started.
Correct.
And then in basketball, you were allowed 20 regular season games. Well, what are they doing down here?
Lots
well,
of
they're playing about 30
Yep.
games down here in basketball. Do you need all those games? When I coach basketball here, I've got, you know, my basketball team's really not any better at 30 games than I was at 20 or 22 games. You know, why can't you play 20 games or 22 games? It seems like more games. coaches want to think, well, that 20 wins. I want to get that 20 wins. Well, you can't get 20 wins if you're playing 20 games.
No,
sure.
But as far as how good your team is, your team's probably not any better at 30 as they were at 20.
I agree.
But they want that 20-win deal, and maybe they want more gate money. I don't know what it is, but we played 20 games. That's all the state of Indiana would allow. And then you played your state tournament, and everybody was in there, one loss, and you were out. And then baseball started when basketball was over.
Well,
you see, and so that made it attractive for everybody to play more than one sport. You see.
Sure. Yeah. And not baseball is just as bad as basketball now. I mean, you got your baseball season, but then you got travel ball, during the summers, and you got elite travel ball, or you got local travel ball. All right, so when that's done in the summer, then you got fall
ball.
Fall ball.
Yeah.
And so these guys that are just play baseball, they don't play basketball, they don't play football because
then preseason workouts
because
start out.
Their parents are thinking, they're going to get a scholarship to all these schools and all that, and so that's why I feel bad sometimes for these high school coaches.
Yeah.
Because they're all these parents, they're thinking there's kids going to get a scholarship and all that, and what's happening with the transfer portal, there's less scholarship opportunities now for high school kids because the teams in colleges are spending a lot more money towards transfers coming in, where it used to be you were allowed like 25 scholarships. You probably get one or two that was a junior college transfer and all that. The rest were high school kids.
Yeah.
Now, you look at your rosters. They're signing. Some of the schools are signing like 20 guys on the NIL transferring in, and that leaves only maybe about 7 or 8 that are high school kids.
Right.
And so
it was a lot easier back in the day, to go to the boys' club and shoot on your own from 9 to 11 in the morning. And then in the afternoon, you played one-on-one with somebody at the boys' club for 2 hours from 1 to 3. And then from 7 to 9, you were on the outdoor courts right there in Greenville.
Yeah.
Didn't cost your parents a dime, Coach. I really didn't cost them one dime to send me out to play AAU ball and to buy all the equipment and everything. I was just right there in town, had my routine, my practice time, my one-on-one, my 5-on-5. Right there in your hometown, huh?
Yeah.
But now you got to have the AAU, and I got to travel all over the place, and I got to have social media promote me, and da-da-da-da. Heck, fire,
and
you
know
know?
what? They don't, and they think they're going to get all these scholarship offers. That doesn't change the lick.
I'll say to your point, Mike, is I did not like last year when the TSSAA came at the last minute and did this, but we had always had a fairly defined line that spring sports started the week of the state tournament, basically, for state basketball tournament for boys, because it was divided out into 2 different weeks when we add the classification. We used to have a clean break. Well, last year they moved the start of baseball, softball, and soccer back a week in January. So we got into a true overlap, and I think we're headed for that again. So where we used to have some somewhat defined lines, it is beginning to push back, and
They're blurred as it is now.
And college is even worse.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, college overlap. Of course, you don't have the college kids, going from one sport to another. But look at college basketball right now. While they're starting, and football's in their 10th game or something like that.
Yeah.
Not not even into the bowl season. Donnie, we didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, it's
No,
okay.
go,
Oh, actually,
It's okay.
I totally meant to interrupt him. I'm not apologizing.
Well,
Leave.
well, at least we apologize.
Yeah,
Marcus
we just-
says
We just cut Donnie
Let's
off.
just-
Water off
Yeah,
the duck's
that's right.
back,
Let's
guys.
just
That's
pick it up at Maryville.
And Donnie,
will.
thanks for your report. All right,
You're welcome. Well, I do want to tell you the scores of the Greenback game last
Well,
night.
There we go.
I was trying
Yeah.
to talk you around that so we can just go straight in. Okay.
I've got them down, so I'm gonna tell them. Coalfield won both games, like we said. The girls' score was 69-10,
Oh God.
and the boys' score 57-15. Greenback scored a combined total of 25 points in those 2 games. I hope they get better.
Oh yeah.
I do. Moving on. Maryville traveled to Jefferson County last night, and I just noticed this interesting. Alcoa won a sweep last night. Maryville won a sweep last night at Jefferson County.
Pretty tough place to play.
It is, yeah. Yeah, not an easy road.
No, it's not a give me by any
to go
stretch
up
of the
there.
imagination.
But Maryville girls won 50-41 over the Lady Patriots, and the boys at 11-6, standing at 11-6 right now, and their record won 67-47, beat Jeff County by 20 last night. So congratulations to both Rebels squads up there at Jeff County last night. And Heritage hosted William Blount last night. Big game,
okay.
big rivalry game, and the Mountaineers and Lady Mountaineers both won last night. So in the girls' game, Heritage standing at 15-1.
Wow.
Right now, beat William Blount 58-28, and the Lady Govs are 3-14 on the season.
Yeah. Coach Howard down there, life's good right now. Isn't
It is.
15-1 on his basketball team.
Yeah.
And Ohio State in the playoffs.
Yeah, and he's got a new hip.
Got a new hip, yeah.
It was a hip or
shoulder.
Shoulder was
Shoulder,
what it was.
shoulder,
Yeah,
yeah.
new shoulder. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so he.
New shoulder.
Yeah.
So he's
doing good.
I bet he made him make that shoulder joint, new shoulder, artificial shoulder, red and white.
Yeah. So he can
Red
whip that
and
arm
white.
around and all that.
Yeah.
Well, congrats to Coach Howard.
Congrats, yes. And the boys standing at 11-4 right now. Pretty good record.
Yeah.
Beat
they're
William
having a
Blount,
great-
beat the Govs
having a great year.
62-37. William Blount boys are 3-11 on the season, so they're having a tough year over at William Blount.
And what's Heritage now? 11 and.
They're at 11-4 for the boys.
You know, and it's another program that's off to a good start. and
On
it's
the rise,
got
yeah.
just a lot of shooters and difficult to deal with.
Yep, that's true. Well, that's all I've got for the Mandy B. Street Realty local scoreboard, sponsored as always by Mandy B. Street Realty, our friends over there. So
You did good.
thank
Yeah.
you. And now I'm gonna pass it off to like the baton to our veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons for his feature. Mark it down after I tell you that you're listening to WKCE 92.5 FM and 1180 AM Mid-Century Radio. Marcus?
Great music, by the
Well,
way.
I was going to toss in. Prep wrestling's been. It had a busy holiday, but
Yeah.
they the last 3 days in the area have been really busy with Maryville hosting a tournament, Alcoa hosting a tournament, and Maryville girls hosting a tournament over the last 3 days. And then at the same time, it's a big weekend around the Chattanooga area, so you've got several of our teams that are down there wrestling at Cleveland, Saudi Daisy, and some of those. They're hosting tournaments, so it's a busy weekend in prep wrestling.
Sure has been.
And that's kind of impacted our guest schedule this week. So, but we're hoping to have some of those teams come on and talk to us a little bit before we get too far into the year. But Mike, you already laid the groundwork for this. You said, I want to come back to this Arkansas game and Coach Cal.
Yeah.
So
Way to go.
let's go ahead and finish breaking that down.
Way to go. Got him. Got him moving now.
I don't want to put a damper on the day, but going in, Tennessee's, as I mentioned, I think they're about a 12.5-point favorite. But I was looking at the statistics of both teams, and these are statistically a couple of teams that's pretty evenly matched going in here this afternoon. So I think that home court advantage has got a lot to do with Thompson Bowling Arena and Food City Center over there, and them playing at home today. But Tennessee's averaging about 80 points a game. Arkansas's at 82.5, so Arkansas scoring just a shade above what Tennessee scored. Tennessee's 48.9%, roughly 49% field goal percentage from the floor, whereas Arkansas's at 51.5.
Wow.
From the floor. 3-point shots, Tennessee's 35.5%, Arkansas's 36.8. So just not a whole lot of difference, but the statistics sort of favor Arkansas.
Stat-wise, Arkansas should be a little better team.
Turnovers, Tennessee's turning it over about 10.8 a game, roughly 11, and Arkansas turning it over 12 times a game, so that's even. And the blocks, Tennessee 5.5 blocks a game, Arkansas 5.7 blocks a game. So statistically, going in, Marcus,
these teams are neck and neck, aren't they?
Pretty close.
It's pretty close, and you just got to wonder a little bit about. I mean, you're basically starting fresh. Everything you've got on Arkansas is basically worthless before this season, and now you're like, okay, what did Cal used to do? What does he like to do? and what is this roster? So I'm just wondering. I think it's curious. Like Tennessee's got some insight in what Adu does best, but he has a lot of insight into what Tennessee does best.
Yeah, I can tell you one thing that Coach Cal does real well, playing over here, and that's losing. He hasn't been real successful over here. And Coach Barnes, and with all the talent that Coach Cal had up at Kentucky, Coach Barnes, not by a lot, but has won more games against Coach Cal than Coach Cal's won against Coach Barnes. But it's been tough for when Kentucky came in here. It was tough for them to play in here, and so we'll see how well Coach Cal does today, bringing a different team in there. Rather, maybe a different team will help him. I don't know. But he had trouble with Kentucky coming in here.
Is Adu in their starting lineup?
He is not. I don't believe he's starting. He's been hurt.
Okay.
He's been hurt some this year. Been fighting some injuries, but he's still a major part of this team.
I'm sure.
They've got two stores, Adu Thiero at 17.8. And Boogie Fland at 15.9.
Best name in the SEC
That's a name.
this year.
Boogie Fland.
Boogie
Yeah,
Fland.
I like that. He can probably go right and left and go right and left quick. Don't you guess? Boogie here, Boogie there, huh?
Boogie
sounds-
everywhere.
Boogie
he just
everywhere.
sounds like the assistant to a James Bond villain.
Yeah.
He just does.
Yeah. Tennessee.
Or a NASCAR guy, boogie.
One of the reasons that Tennessee's been so successful is they got 4 players in double figures. Chaz Lanier at 19.6. Jordan Gainey at 11.8, Zakai Ziegler at 11.7, and Igor Melichek at junior at 10.7. So, you get 4 players, Coach Iruli, in double figures. That's pretty impressive.
Yes,
and
it
they're
is.
consistent.
Right,
They're consistent in double figures. And a lot of that's because they're having a lot of playing. They're getting a lot of playing time.
Correct. And again, in the system that they run, I mean, they pass the ball to each other. They run the plays well. It's a complete balance of whether they're scoring production and all that, which makes it very difficult to defend a team like Tennessee.
And we talked about the minutes, Marcus, of these players. Lanier, 29 minutes. Gainey, 27 minutes. Melichek, 25 minutes. And Zakai Ziegler, I'd say kind of the head of the snake right there as far as the offense goes and so forth. 33, almost 34 minutes.
Good gracious.
34 minutes.
He doesn't come out much, does he?
Yeah, and that kind of tells me you don't want him out much because you're a little bit leery about who you got in there. You just don't have the shoes to fill, replacing him on the floor when he's out. 34 minutes. Point guard, expecting him to run the team, shoot the basketball, and play defense. I tell you what, that's a tough 34 minutes. I'm going to tell you.
And make great passes
and make great passes,
too.
and that's what he does. He's a great assist
sure
player.
Does.
That's a lot asking for a guy for 34 minutes, and I'm really interested to see how that plays out over the tough SEC schedule, Marcus.
Yeah, and I think they're going to put, for various reasons, they're going to put some emphasis on what is our plan B for when he is out, and purposely trying to, when the moments come, to take advantage of getting other people experience.
Have to.
Because, one, you need to rest him, but at the same time, you're talking about somebody that has already had a catastrophic injury once at the worst time of the year. You don't want to be flat-footed if if that were to happen again. So, I mean, you want to be prepared and you want to have a plan in place, but you also want to rest this guy because you want him to still be. I mean, I don't have a problem with him averaging 29, 30 minutes, but when you start pushing past 30, it can get a little wearing.
Sure can.
I mean, the only good thing you can say is that Tennessee doesn't have to fly for 3/4 of its conference games like some people will have
And
to
I
do.
hate to bring this word up, but sometimes when you're playing a lot of minutes and you get worn and fatigue starts getting in mentally and physically, you know what happens? Injuries.
Yeah.
Injuries, and I hate to bring that word up. That's something that this basketball team just can't. They can't have. They can't
Don't
afford.
need
They
that
can't.
right
They
now.
can't afford to have
Absolutely.
Ziegler hurt. They can't afford to have Lanier hurt. You take Lanier right now with what he's doing, Marcus. He's got Dalton Connect numbers at this point right now. At this point, a lot of people don't realize it, but he's playing very similar, and they're getting the production out of him that they were getting out of Dalton Connect last year, and that's impressive.
I mean, people were I think especially the announcers want to make that kind of comparison. I don't think he's quite ready for that comparison yet, but at the same time, Connect had one or two really big profile, high scoring games in before conference play last year that kind of got him on the radar, but he did most of his damage in conference play last year. Like his scoring average, I believe, went up during conference play. So I would not be surprised to see the same thing as Tennessee is going to be forced to settle into doing some things that they're going to have their go-to.
Yeah. How important is it to win this first SEC game, especially with being a home game and looking at number 6 Florida coming up? I think this is a big game.
It's
really huge.
I think it is. I think there are so many possible things to what could dictate what happens this SEC season that you're going to have to, every home win you can get, you better get, and just pray on the road. But you better hold court at home. I mean, we say that every season. That's the key to winning the SEC. But just surviving the SEC this year, you better win at home.
Yeah, yep. I don't think the formula for winning the Southeastern Conference Championship has changed very much since the days when I played there back in the early 70s. You got to win all your home games. That's a must. If you lose a home game, you got to go on the road and win 2. You got to make up that game on the road. But you got to win all your home games, and you got to play at least 500 on the road, maybe just a tad better, but 500 will probably get you in the race down toward all the way toward the end. But if you lose home games, you're in trouble.
I think that may be the formula this year.
Yeah.
Donnie's giving that weird hand signal.
Yeah,
again,
he is.
Mike.
Yeah, he is. We got a lot to talk about.
Donnie, if you got an itch, is that what?
He doesn't say anything, but you can hear it go snap.
Snap. Yeah. We'll take a break here. It's time to turn the page, and next up will be the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment. You're listening to the GoTeez Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards along with the rest of our broadcast crew, and now it's time for the GoTeez Sports Page Player of the Week segment featuring Daily Times senior reporter Marcus Fitzsimmons, sponsored by Anderson Lumber Company, where quality service is always a priority. Proudly serving Blount County for close to 100 years.
Wow, long time.
Yeah, that's a lot of lumber.
That sure is.
A lot of lumber right there, boys. Yeah, and a lot of trusses.
Yeah.
Over there. But great place to do business.
It is.
Got a little bit for everybody there. Yeah.
Well, Mike, I don't have much this week, just simply because, like I said, the schedule's just not been cooperative with the break this year. But if we want to keep on going with UT, I'm pretty good with that because it's an interesting conversation because we haven't even touched on the Lady Vols yet, and there's something.
And that's
worth
where
there.
I'm going.
Go for it.
I'm going right to the Lady Vols right now, and what a season that they've got off to. I keep thinking, I think the Lady Vols are 13-0 and the men are 13-0. That is 26-0.
I can't recall.
That athletic director over there, Danny White.
Yeah.
He's looking real good right now.
Looking
You know that?
he's made some
real
really
good.
good choices.
Yeah.
Let's talk about my contract now
Yeah.
with Danny White over there. I mean, you know, he brought Kim Caldwell in there. Everybody goes, "Who's she? She doesn't have very much
Nobody
experience."
knew.
And you know what? You know where we need to hire another lady ball to coach this team. And hey, I'm telling you right now,
And then
she's been impressive.
I
Sure
know.
has.
It sure has. And then, you know, a few weeks later, you know, baseball's going to be starting up in February. So, you know, the AD needs to, you know, really take a look at his contract and get it renegotiated just a little bit.
It's the best all-around sports program in the United States, and
I would say so.
They have prided themselves, I think, through the years to having a good all-around sports program over there.
It's always been important.
If Coach if Lonnie was here and Coach Trail, they would talk about how well-rounded that program was back in the late 60s and early 70s, where they won the All-Sports Trophy back there. But I think they've gone beyond that now. I think this program, when you start winning national championships in sports, I think you've gone above that. But,
elite level now.
But Tennessee has always prided themselves in track and field. They pride themselves in swimming.
Softball.
All sports.
Yeah,
and I'm telling you, when you do that, that's impressive, because you can get bogged down in, you know, we make our money in football. We're going to put all of our look there. But here at Tennessee, the fans around here, they look forward to football. It's still the top dog, you got to admit, because of the Southeastern Conference and the tradition they have there. But they also now, you know, they look forward to basketball. This is the best basketball league in America. And then it's over with.
Each season, in
then
fact,
it's over with, and you go to baseball and you go, hey man, we're looking forward to baseball. You know what kind of team is Tony Vitello going to have over there? Can he match that national championship team? And I'm telling you, it's a great place to be a Tennessee Vol fan.
Well,
Marcus.
the only one I would kind of pick on is that I would like to see track and swimming make that jump, because those are Tennessee.
return to glory.
I don't need glory. I just want to see them in the contention for a conference title.
Yeah.
I want to see them being in that top quarter of the conference in those two sports.
Yeah, and sending kids to the Olympics. Remember back in the day, that late 60s, early 70s, they didn't only win championships, SEC, they were sending swimmers and tracksters to the Olympics.
But the difference between those the UT's, we'll call it all sports glory days in the early 70s there, and now is we got some programs that weren't even on the radar then. You've got women's soccer, you've got softball, and you've got volleyball. And softball we all know about, but, I mean, women's soccer and volleyball are both coming off NCAA tournament appearances this fall. So, I mean, I think he's got all the sports going on track. I just think some of the – I don't want to call them – let's call them the non-revenue sports.
Yeah.
That don't have a huge turnout. I'd like to see those two traditional ones just get in that competitive top of the conference, which is a harder nut to crack than it was.
Yeah, well,
30 years ago.
You got more teams.
I mean, to be in the top four in this conference in those two sports is pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, you really have a hard time just trying to figure out what sport's not a very good sport over at Tennessee.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that comes to mind that is, you know, they've struggled for years and years and haven't been successful.
It's raining dollar bills over there, isn't it?
Doing
well,
good.
you know what? The gymnastics team just hasn't done the way I wanted to.
The gymnastics.
I guess they would have to form that team
make
first.
Yeah,
first.
do that. I think you'd be a great assistant coach.
Why is orange just an ugly color in gymnastics? Is that why Tennessee doesn't have a team?
I guess.
Because it's like if you win the SEC, you're pretty much going to be in the Final Four national championship. I've always wondered why Tennessee didn't have a gymnastics team like so many SEC
I've wondered
schools
the same
do.
thing. Yeah. What I'm wondering is if we're going to see Coach Hype in the dugout or on the field with Coach Vitello's team this year, like we did Tony on the football field. I mean, he was right there in the middle of everything.
Well, you win a national championship, you want to be everywhere, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Gonna be
if it was me, man, I'd be showing up for everything. Y'all having a show down here at the so-and-so red, I'll be there. I'm there. Count on me. Yeah, once you win that first national, that kind of takes a little pressure off of you, too, doesn't it? When you win that
and
first
he's never been shy around the camera.
No, he hasn't.
No, absolutely
I'm curious
not.
to see what they do over at Lindsey Nelson as far as signage for that.
Yeah, me too.
Because, I mean, do you go real big? Like, do you put up the big sign that kind of indicates you don't think you're going to win another one? Or do you leave room and look maybe kind of egotistical for leaving the room thinking
first
you're
of many?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd flaunt it if I was me.
Well, of course.
If I was Coach Vitella, I'd just put national championships on my uniform. National champions. when they
National
were
champs.
I wouldn't put my name on the back. I'd just put that, wouldn't you?
Knowing him, he probably already has it. He probably's already done that.
I'd say you're right.
Well, let's talk about the Lady Vols and Kim Caldwell. They beat Winthrop last Sunday, 114-50. Must have been Winthrop week. They must have collected. They collected 2 checks, I'm sure,
Winthrop
bringing their
week.
men's basketball program in here and their women's basketball program. But they got shellacked 114-50 by the Lady Vols, and then they opened SEC play, I believe, on Thursday there, and beat Texas A&M 91-78. And what impresses me
Was that
is
at
it was at A&M.
Wow.
It was on the road. What impresses me about the Lady Vols is the fact that they're putting up a lot of points, Marcus.
They sure
I
are.
mean to tell you, they're flirting with 100 just about every game they play.
That's
And I know a lot of
ball.
I know a lot of
Yeah.
it has to do with the pressure they're putting on teams, full court pressure, and that creates a lot of turnovers and easy buckets. But by golly, they have pretty well shellacked everybody, and their road to 13-0 has been pretty similar to the men in the fact that they've only played one ranked team, which was Iowa, but they handled them pretty easily.
Well, let me think.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's right. That's right. I
Yeah.
was thinking.
Yep.
I was thinking A&M was ranked, but they're not.
No, they're
Yeah.
not.
But who would have thought though? During the coaching turnover this past, after the season last year, that we're talking about Tennessee women being undefeated.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a rebuilding year.
I thought we'd be building.
So
Yeah.
far, I've
Well,
been
that's
real
what-
wrong on
maybe
that.
8-4 by now or something
Yeah.
like that, and that that.
No, I mean really, we were thinking. Honestly, I was thinking 8-5.
Yeah.
If they were above 7 wins, I was going to consider it a good
Boy, you're doing great.
preseason.
But no one was thinking this.
But I mean, I don't know if it's her style. I don't know if it's the way she's implementing that system. But it's proved effective so far.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to knock on something before we get to that point, but I'm going to anyway. I don't know how long effective it is in the long term, but that's not a concern right now.
Yeah.
The concerns for Sunday.
They've done the same thing as the men. They've created a monster. They're 13-0 right now. Fans expect you to go on with that 13-0 and extend it. And when you play 30-some games, sooner or later, Marcus, you're going to run into some roadblocks. You're going to have some adversity, and you're going to take some losses. So they're going to have to be patient with them. And again, they've got, I think, 8 teams in the women's side in the SEC that are ranked in the top 25. So they're sort of in the same situation that the men are as far as a real competitive league.
Well, they are, but the thing that they have going for them, if you want to call it that, is there's no expectation. It doesn't matter how riled up the fan base gets. From the view of the rest of the league, they have zero expectation to beat anybody. I mean, they're supposed to be at the bottom of the league, and that's where they were pegged at the beginning of the year in the preseason. They were pegged at they can ride that chip on their shoulder all the way into March. Now, do I think they're going to continue this level of success? No. I think when they run up against some of these better teams, they're going to get run just as hard. They're going to prove they can run with them, and they can run them better than they can run the system themselves. But it's going to be interesting, and I think it's going to be fun to watch in some ways.
What I've been impressed with is the fact that those players have bought into her system, which is very hard for players to do.
It is.
And
Especially older players.
She has sold them on herself. I think they've got a real liking and a real respect. I think they've been put through the drill, so to speak, as far as preseason and so forth. I don't think this has been an easy thing for the players over there. But when you go through all that and you start winning and you start creating things and you start doing well as an individual player and as a team player, I'm telling you, it does wonders for our confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Tom?
yeah. Well, like Coach Herzer would say, you build up a high level of confidence.
Oh,
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was big confidence, and by the way, you
And
play.
think about this. You talk about the buy-in. like everything that's going on outside of basketball with her is just, I mean, you're talking about a coach she's coaching in the Power Four for the first time as a head coach.
Right.
She's got her husband involved with UT Athletics, so you're basically working with your spouse for all effective purposes, and you're pregnant. all of that going on around. I mean, there is so much. ESPN's going to love having Lady Vols on because there is so much they can talk about besides basketball, which we know they love to do because they talk very little about the actual basketball right now.
Yeah.
So they're going to love having Lady Vols on because there's just so much they can do.
Yeah. When you talk about Coach I really building that confidence up, and we talked about how it was back in the 70s with all the UT sports and how it is now with all the UT sports. When you build that confidence as a player and as a coach, and I went through that with Coach Mears,
sure,
you would get so used to that winning, and then you'd hit that adversity and you'd lose that game, and I'm telling you, you would sit there in that locker room, and the players would just sit there after the game, after you'd lost, and it was like, how did this happen?
Yeah, what the hell happened? Yeah.
How in the world? Yeah. It was like a daggum funeral.
Sure.
How did this happen? There's no way this should have happened.
Right.
I mean,
right.
that's when you build that up, you got yourself a real successful program.
Sure.
And you got players thinking that way. Huh?
Well, you expect high results, but you're expecting high results not only from you but from your teammates as well.
Yep.
And so when you have that disappointing loss, you look at each other and look at everyone eye to eye and said, okay, let's turn the page on this. Let's get back out there. Let's do what we've been doing to be successful.
And something else you do, and I don't know how much of this goes on now, but in my generation over there, you played hurt because you didn't want somebody taking your place. You know, and Coach Hersburn and Coach Trail talked about that too. Said, well, we just played hurt. You didn't want somebody to take your place, and then the next thing you know, they've had a couple good games, and now you've got to fight to get back into your spot, win it back.
Well, playing a year for Coach Hersburn, you learn how to play hurt because just the pregame drills he would run us through.
Yeah.
All right, where we go 3-on-3 and hitting and tackling drills coming out of the 5 minutes during pregame with our helmets on sideways and all that. We couldn't wait to play the games because it was going to be easier than what we just went through.
A little bit of a rest.
And something else I've noticed with Kim Caldwell and Coach Barnes, they're no nonsense people.
No.
They're a little bit of and Pat Head Summit was like this too.
Yes.
It was a throwback to the old days where, hey, you're going to do it my way, and this is the way it's going to be, and this is the right way to do things, and that's the way they sold their programs.
Sure.
And the players, they bought into that, you know, and it breeds success.
Well, what happens is, hey, this is the standard. This is where we're going to do things. Hey, if you don't want to do it the way the program is set, then you need to find somewhere else. But you got to set a standard. And I've been on coaching staffs where, hey, that we had that strict standard where the players, they all adhered to it, and we found success. And when that started to loosen up, then there's cracks in the foundation of your program. Then you struggle. And so right now it's looking like they've got a certain standard, and that's the way we're going to do things.
And we're going to find out because Sunday you've got a top 10 team coming in here in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And then your midweek game next week is a top 5 opponent in LSU, and they're going to find out very quickly where
we stand,
where this can carry them. If those are competitive games, with LSU, I'd be worried they could out-athlete you. They could run faster than you can.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll get a good test of this. We're going to get a real good feel, and then you get a couple of weeks that you're playing good competition, but you're not playing the top 4 in the league.
But when you got a team that was picked where they were picked, a loss is not going to affect you like it would affect a team that was expected to have a great year. This team doesn't have anything to lose. They really don't have anything to lose.
Every loss is a learning experience.
Exactly, and that's where Kim Caldwell's coming from. So I just think if they don't come out at LSU, if they don't come out South Carolina, if they don't come out wherever, she's going to take that as a learning experience and build on it. She's not going to let them off the hook real easy. No. She's going to take them to the next level by a little bit longer practice sessions or whatever. But when you play for somebody like her, you play for somebody like Pat Summitt or Ray Mears or Doug Dickey or Chuck Rowe back in the day.
Yeah.
Coach Iruli, and you probably went through this a little bit with Coach Hersburn. You played with just a little bit of fear. You understand what I'm saying? So if you lost, it was that fear factor with, well, I know what practice is going to be like next week. You know what I'm saying?
Light it up.
We practiced from had a meeting from 2:30 to 3 when I was playing for Coach Mears. From 3 o'clock to 6:30, we're on the floor. Well, if you lose a game, you're going to miss nightly meal over there, and that practice is going to extend to 7 and on. Now, today, you don't have that. You can't do that. But back then, there was that fear factor. Hey, I don't want to be out here till 7 o'clock or 7:30. I want to get done at 6:30 and get over to the training table where I don't have to go get my Smoky Mountain hot dogs out there on Chapman Highway. You see what I'm saying? Later on that night. But it makes a lot of difference, and I think both of these, Kim Caldwell and Coach Barnes, creates that little bit of a fear factor in the players that they don't want to go through that tough defensive session if they don't play well defensively on the game that they lost.
Right.
Huh?
Yeah, and like we said here, I mean, they're on a good path right now, all right? And the transition in the women's basketball program has been outstanding. Yeah. And so, obviously, there's going to be tougher games coming ahead for them. But, no one predicted this. She runs so enjoy it.
We'll take it.
Take it while you can, because there'll be ups and downs along the way. But they're definitely in a good place.
Yeah, and they keep going. You can look for those Lady Vault ticket prices to go up next year, right?
There's always a correlation to that.
And the requested donations as well.
Exactly. Hey, time for a break. When we return, it's the Boyd Sports Spotlight, as Donnie Moore will be up with the national sports headlines, and I'll follow up with some college football playoff discussion. You're listening to the GoTeez Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
For over 90 years, Anderson Lumber Company in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. Locally owned, so the money made here stays here. Whether you're renovating a kitchen, bath, new floors, doors, or windows, Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store and can take care of you from design to install. We welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa for all your home's needs, or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber since 1925. Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for the Boyd Sports Spotlight segment. And I'm going to bring Donnie Moore back in here. But, Donnie, you got a text from our good friend Charlie Paleo, didn't you? And when we were having the discussion about where Coach Heupel's going to be during baseball season, is he going to be noticeable? Where'd Charlie say he was going to be?
Charlie says he's going into a parking garage. Hiding because of that loss to Ohio State.
Yeah.
Charlie's always good for a laugh.
Well, at least it'll be warmer.
That's true.
It'll be warmer than it was up there in Columbus. Huh? Yeah, very good. Good to hear from Charlie, by the way.
Yeah, always.
We know we're a good hand knowing that Charlie's still listening to us.
Come join us occasionally.
Yeah. Well, Donnie, it's all yours, buddy.
Thank you, Mike. It's time for our segment that we like to call the Sports Headlines of the Week, brought to you by Fast Signs. Whoosh. Warriors sharpshooter Stephen Curry made all 8 of his three-point attempts Thursday in his team's 139-105 pasting of the Philadelphia 76ers. The feat, a career first for Curry, puts him in the 8-for-8 club, of which there are only 9 NBA members. Curry, Sam Perkins, Steve Smith, Michael Finley, Taurean Prince, and Jeff Hornacek. Now, Jalen Brunson, Latrell Sprewell, and Ben Gordon are ex facto members of that club as a result of being in the 9-for-9 club. Curry is the first player in history to also add 10 assists to his Thursday performance. Pretty good shooting by that guy who is recognized as being the greatest shooter in the NBA.
Hey, I think he's the greatest shooter of all time. I mean, there's been a lot of great shooters come down the pike. You know, pro basketball and college basketball and so forth and so on. But Steph Curry, you know, with the range he has on his shot, and the consistency he has on his shot. I look at Steph Curry and I compare him to the quarterback era of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, I think he's I think he is to basketball what Patrick Mahomes in some respects is to football.
Yeah, and
the pros.
Mahomes didn't even make the Pro Bowl this year.
I mean,
oh, he didn't?
No, he didn't.
Wow,
But
wow.
I mean, I think
but he's won some Super Bowls.
Steph's not,
he sure has.
Steph is
may win another
the player
one,
he
too.
was.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not at the peak of his athletic performance, but he can still play good games, and he can still have nights and be a solid part of your team.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be your 40-point-a-night guy anymore.
Yeah, you're not looking to trade him, though, are you, Marcus?
No, you're not looking to trade him, but you also can't afford. You also can't afford to pay him like he's your number one guy.
Well, that's true too.
Because if you do that, then you don't have a number one guy to score.
I understand. Are you going to inform him that you're not going to pay him?
He's going to take a salary cut.
Thankfully, my business,
I'd hate to be the guy to do that, wouldn't you?
My business acumen has not led me to own an NBA franchise yet, so I don't have to worry about it.
And what college did he graduate from?
Davidson.
Davidson. Not North Carolina, not all these
pretty good basketball school over there. That's where Lefty Driesell came from. Yeah, he came from Davidson, went to Maryland, and he was replaced by a guy that was also a pretty good basketball coach, Terry Holland. Ended up at Virginia and coached Ralph Sampson. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And think about this, because he's just a rookie and you haven't seen it yet. But had it not been for Coach Barnes, you might be saying in a year or two now that you had a Dalton Connect, and he came out of Northern Colorado. And if it hadn't been for his 1 year at Tennessee, because he's I mean, he's proving that he can play in the NBA at a high level.
A lot of looks.
Absolutely.
Let's go a step further than that. Let's just say if it hadn't been for the transfer portal, he wouldn't be where he's at.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, after Simone Biles became the most decorated U.S. gymnast in history with her 3 golds and a silver in Paris, the world wants to know, will she participate in the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics?
They allow that?
Does who allow it?
I thought gymnasts were retired at like 17 or something.
Well, that
not
seems
her. Good, great.
No. Well, that's the question, but in a recent interview, Biles revealed that she thinks it would be greedy to compete again and added that she has nothing left to do in gymnastics. She said, "I'm at a point in my career where I'm humble enough to know when to be done." You know, Lord help us all to be that, to have that wisdom.
I mean, I just think that's got to be one of the greatest comebacks that she had in her performance.
Oh, it was.
Last Olympics. When you compare it to what happened to her at the previous Olympics and all the issues she was had with her lack of confidence and a lot of mental issues that was going on.
Twisties.
Yeah, and all of a sudden now for her to come back and and leave that type of legacy that she had in the last Olympics, and again the next Olympics is going to be still another 3.5 years away.
28.
That's way down the road. And,
sure is.
But she's, big time.
Exactly. Eagles running back Saquon Barkley won't have an opportunity to break the NFL single-season rushing record set by Eric Dickerson in 1984. Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni has opted to sit Barkley along with some other starters in the number 2 seeded Eagles game versus the New York Giants tomorrow. He's going to sit out.
Yeah.
Barkley has 2,005 rushing yards this season and needs only 101 more to break Dickerson's mark. Dickerson told reporters this week that he hoped Barkley would fall short of the record so he could maintain his place in NFL history.
Yeah. Why would he say that?
I don't know. That's what I want.
Records are made to be broken.
Sure.
That's all they're out there for. They're only out there to show somebody and give somebody that extra deal to move forward and to break that record. That's all it's out there for. And let it go. You've had your career. You did a good job. Somebody breaks it. Congratulations to them. Move on. Huh?
And Barkley is full on board with Coach Sirianni's decision. He said, whatever's best for the team, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's going to be asterisked. Even if he'd done it, it would have been asterisk because he would have done it in one more game than what Dickerson had.
Yeah.
Because Dickerson had 16 games to do it.
I know, but they throw those asterisks out.
Yeah.
I think internally it would have been a difference.
I think what you're saying is correct because different players play in different eras.
Yes.
You talk about basketball players played under the 2-shot deal and the 3-shot now, and they played less games back in the day, and they play more games now. I'm talking about basketball, college basketball, high school basketball, whatever you want to put out there.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, they want to just leave it the way it is. Whether it's fair or not, just leave it alone. And we saw this way back in the day. Coach Iruli with Roger Maris and Babe Ruth. That's kind of where it all began. They wanted Roger Maris to have the asterisk there because he played 10 more games or.
Yeah,
whatever.
it was 152 when Babe Ruth played. I think it was 164 games.
Yeah, 10 or 12 games.
Yeah. And
well, see,
I tell you what, though, if you want to ever sit down and watch a good movie, watch that movie 61. I watched it with my
that's
grandson.
great.
Oh, what a
I just think if you, as a matter of course, if you break it in 16 and don't make it in 7, don't worry about it because if you do it in 16, chances are your team's going to let you rest in 17 anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's true. That's true. Well, let's do a little tidbit here for our hockey fans listening out there today. Nashville Predators rookie winger Zach LaHuro is no stranger to penalty time, but in a 5-3 Tuesday loss to the Minnesota Wild, he flaunted the rules of the league just a bit too far.
What do you mean by flaunting?
Leading to, I'll explain.
Well, he's going to tell you all about it.
Leading to a 3-game suspension and forfeiture of almost $13,500 in pay. LaHuro was assessed a game misconduct penalty for a slew foot. You know what a slew foot is?
No.
I'll tell you in just a minute. For a slew foot against Wild defenseman Jared Spurgeon. A slew foot is an illegal body trip where you trip your opponent with some part of your body, which he did with his legs, and that's per the NHL rule book, by the way. It's also an automatic match penalty. Now, a match penalty says that's an equivalent to an ejection from the match. So he got ejected, too. Spurgeon, the guy that he tripped, did not return to the game and is listed as week to week with a lower body injury.
Well, that's not a big deal. That was in the movie Slapshot. I mean, they did that.
Well, of course they did. They took a little bit of license right there.
Yes.
But it's actually it's called a slew foot.
A slew foot.
SLEW, slew foot.
Okay.
And it's against NHL rules.
So he used his entire body to trip?
He got his legs behind the other guy's legs.
Yeah.
And then pushed him with his upper body. And made it just like the old when we used to play when we were kids. Somebody come up behind you and kneel down.
Yeah.
And say, pooh, somebody comes up and gives you a shove then. Except he didn't need any help.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't need any help.
Okay.
Well, anyway. U.S. track and field star Fred Curley was arrested in Florida Friday evening after a confrontation with police. Curley, the reigning Olympic bronze medalist in the men's 100-meter dash, was shown on videotape, body camera from some of the officers, exchanging words with several officers before being struck and wrestled to the ground by some of the officers.
You couldn't outrun him.
No. He should have.
Should have tried.
Yeah, he should have.
Yeah.
He was then subdued by a taser and placed in handcuffs. Curley was charged with battery, disorderly conduct, and resisting arrest, and booked into jail early Friday morning and released Friday afternoon.
He couldn't run away from it. Wasn't
Nope.
fast enough.
Wasn't fast enough to run away. Bronze medalist, reigning bronze medalist in the 100. Couldn't run away from him. Maybe he just knew better.
Yeah.
Well, this tidbit here, Bryce James has committed to the University of Arizona to continue his basketball career. The 17-year-old senior at Sierra Canyon High School in Chatsworth, California, had offers from Ohio State and Duquesne prior to choosing the Wildcats. And, by the way, Bryce is the youngest son of Lakers star LeBron James. So
he'll be in the NBA next year then.
he will indeed. I'm sure you're right.
Yeah.
After playing a year at Arizona.
That's right.
17 years old. Let's give you a few items.
Wasn't LeBron's other son? Wasn't he like the second draft?
Bronny? Yeah.
Bronny.
Second round.
Second round.
Yeah, he was second round.
He was a
draft
second round pick by the Lakers.
Yeah.
This day in sports happened on January the 4th, 1887. Going back a long way, 1887.
You ought to remember that, right?
Yeah.
1887.
Thomas Stevens completes the first bicycle trip around the world, returning.
How'd he do that?
Yeah.
Well, he probably traveled by ship a lot.
He had to ride back and forth on that ship?
Yeah.
Okay.
But returning to San Francisco after 2 years and 9 months. It took him 2 years and 9 months
Holy
to make
smokes.
that trip. Goodness.
Do they have video of that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
1887.
There's no interstates, too. So
No. 1942, seven-time National League batting champ Rogers Hornsby is the 14th player ever selected to the Baseball Hall of Fame.
He was a legend.
He
Absolutely.
sure was.
424 all-time batting.
Yep.
average.
1971, moving on a few years here, Philadelphia's Veterans Stadium is dedicated and becomes home to the Phillies and the Eagles. The Vet.
The Vet. Still
The
holding
Vet.
up.
Yep, still is. 1984, Edmonton beats Minnesota 12-8 in the highest scoring modern National Hockey League game. 20 goals.
Yeah, that's right. And both teams fired their goalies after the game.
Yeah.
Precisely. 1986, Rams running back Eric Dickerson scores twice and rushes for an NFL postseason record 248 yards in a 20-0 shutout win over the Cowboys in the NFC Divisional Playoff game in Anaheim, California.
And the Cowboys are still trying to win a football game.
They
in the
sure are.
playoffs.
Bless their hearts. Even with
Even-
Jerry's money. They,
You know, they just can't win it.
1986, Navy's David Robinson, great player, wasn't he,
player.
Mike?
Yeah, he was a great player.
David Robinson,
Went to Naval Academy.
yeah, blocks an NCAA record 14 shots. Blocked 14 shots in one game. Goodness.
People forget, though, after he got done playing, he was in the Navy in
Yes.
service for about 2 years
Yes.
afterwards before he joined the. And I want to say he was in a submarine or something like that.
I don't know.
No,
Well,
they
I'd
had.
be cramped.
No,
He
he
was
was
in a
in.
submarine.
He was in a recruiting station in
He
Texas.
was
I
too
believe.
tall for active
Yeah.
service, I think.
Well, when he
That's
went to
right.
Navy, I believe when he not signed with Navy, but when he went to the Naval Academy, he was only like 6'6".
Yeah,
He grew like 6 inches in college
he sure did.
Well, okay.
He sure did. Yep.
because he outgrew the height requirements to serve on a ship or in an airplane.
Yep.
That's right. But it still sounded good.
Yeah,
sounded
it
like
did.
a
That was
good
a good story
being
anyway,
somewhere.
Tony.
Yeah, okay.
1992, Celtics post player Robert Parrish becomes the 5th player in NBA history to record 2,000 career block shots.
He was a great player.
He sure was. 2,000 block shots.
He
Kareem,
must have watched a lot of Bill Russell film.
hey,
there with
I'm
the
sure he
Celtics.
did. The other four are Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Mark Eaton, Wayne Rollins, and George Johnson.
Wow, Bill Russell's not even in
No.
there.
I was going to say.
No,
Surprising.
I figured he would be.
Yeah.
1999, the first BCS National Championship at Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe, Arizona. Number 1, Tennessee, beats number 2, Florida State, 23-16. Sorry, boss. At the 28th
23-16.
Fiesta Bowl.
Boss would be going, yeah, but we had our 5th-string quarterback in there, and he was playing in the secondary, and they had to draft him to play.
That was
You
a
know,
99, right?
99, yeah. The 98 National Championship played in 99 because it's in January. Year 2000, one day after accepting the head coach position at the New York Jets, Bill Belichick resigns and moves to the New England Patriots.
That's a good move
head
for
coach
him.
for one day of the Jets.
That's a good move for him.
Hey, he found a new girlfriend up there.
Also in 2000.
She was
Wait a
24
minute,
years old
wait a
too.
Yeah,
Wait a minute. That was what year?
2000.
Okay, his girlfriend was born that year, Donnie.
Also in
That's
2000.
right, exactly right.
One day,
Yeah.
Mark Cuban purchases the majority stake in the Dallas Mavericks from H. Ross Perot.
Oh,
Yep, bought it from Perot.
Oh,
And he only paid $285 million
wow.
for that majority stake. Goodness.
Good investment.
Yeah, it sure was. 2001, Washington Wizards. Michael Jordan becomes the 4th player in NBA history to score 30,000 points in an 89-83 win over his former team, the Chicago Bulls.
Wow,
Amazing how that turned out.
you'd think a guy that shot that much would have Tommy John surgery, wouldn't you?
You would think so. Something.
Or something, huh?
Something
30,000.
need to be
30,000 points.
Good gosh.
Woo.
almost as much as yours.
And I'd say if you ask him, he'd say, "I remember the first shot I made," but he
probably
can't.
would.
He can't remember any of the rest
No.
of them, and he might be able to remember the last one, and everything else is
That's
just
probably right.
it's just
Yeah.
blurred.
Yep, a couple of birthdays for you. Well, yep, a couple of birthdays at least. Born in 1925 on January the 4th, Johnny Lujack,
Johnny Lujack,
College Hall of Fame
Notre
quarterback.
Damer.
Notre Dame.
Heisman
Yeah.
Trophy in 1947, won a national championship in 43, 46, and 47.
Played for a pretty good coach, Frank Leahy.
He played at Notre
Yeah.
Dame for Frank Leahy. He was in the Pro Bowl 1950 and 51 with the Chicago Bears
Right,
as
he was
well.
a good pro player
He sure
too.
was. Born in Connellsville, Pennsylvania, and died last year in 2020. Well, not last year now, the year before last.
Yeah,
now,
that's
2023. Born on this day in 1930, another name you're going to know well, Don Shula.
Yeah.
Pro Football Hall of Fame coach, won Super Bowls in 72 and 73 with the Dolphins, and coached with the Colts later than that. Was the coach of the year in 64, 67, 68, and 72. Great football coach.
Yeah, he had to go through the Joe Namath, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was the coach of the Colts when Joe Namath won the Super Bowl, wasn't he? Coach Iruli.
Born in,
Yes, he
I think
was.
that's
Yep,
right,
That's
yeah.
all right. Yep.
born in Grand River, Ohio. Died in 2020.
I think when he became the head coach, I think he was only about 30, 31. I
Yeah.
mean, we're very young.
He was. Born on this day in 1935, Floyd Patterson. World heavyweight boxing champ in 1956 through 59, and 1960 through 1962. 2 stints as world heavyweight champ.
Great boxer.
Won an Olympic gold in 1952. Born in Waco,
Texas.
North Carolina.
Waco, North Carolina.
Waco, North Carolina. I didn't know there was a
yeah,
Waco
yeah.
in Carolina. Died in 2006. And running back, 1994, born on this day, running back Derrick Henry. Won the Heisman in 2015 at Alabama. Made the Pro Bowl in 2019 for the Tennessee Titans. Born in Yulee, Florida. He's 30 years old today.
Where's Yulee?
I don't know where Yulee is.
Yep,
Y-U-L-E-E.
Maybe up in the Panhandle or something.
Well, I'll look that
It's
one
right
up.
next to Weemy.
Weemy.
I'll look that one up.
Weemy.
And that's it for this week's Sports Headlines, brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Fast Signs. I'm Donnie
Very good.
Moore. Back to you, Gunner.
I'm Mike Edwards. I'm here with Donnie Moore and Marcus Fitzsimmons and Coach Tony Iruli, and let's talk a little bit about these college football playoffs.
All right.
And I don't know, the Final Four's in, and maybe the people down here in the South have lost interest because we're looking at Ohio State, Notre
Quite
Dame, and
likely.
Penn State. That's 3 Northern teams, and then you throw Texas in there. That's in the SEC. But a lot of people around here are going,
That's
"Yeah,
not
Texas." If you look at the season, it's like, Texas. We don't claim them in the SEC. You know,
That's Southwest Conference.
wait till Texas get in the SEC. We'll show them what real football's like. And now look at Texas is in there. But
Last man standing.
I Yeah, but I look at those four teams right there, and I grew up in Indiana. I grew up in the North, but I'm looking at 4 tradition-rich football teams, Coach. I really,
very much.
I'm talking to you think of Ohio State, you think of Woody Hayes. You think of Penn State, you think of Joe Paterno. You think of Texas, you think of Darrell Royal. Yeah, Notre Dame, you think of Air Parsons and Dan Devine, Lou Holtz, and way back Newt Rockne and Frank Leahy. These are tradition-rich football schools, and you think of all the playoffs, and you can say, well, they haven't lived up to the hype, and they got to do some tweaking here and some tweaking there. By golly, those are 4 name football schools right there.
And when you watch what they do, I mean, they play hard-nosed football. I mean, they're not into a lot of the spread stuff that you've been seeing and up-tempo stuff like this. They're just going to get the ball. They're going to run right at you. They'll try to do some things, on the perimeter, running the ball. But it's going to be 4 teams that are very similar in being tough physical teams.
Yeah, they're gonna try to beat you up front.
And it's 4 teams, like you said, that are power teams.
Yeah.
But it's also 4 defenses that don't let you run the ball.
No.
That's what all 4 of those have in common is they do not let you get on.
Yeah.
They do not let you run the ball.
Marcus, I'm going to hit you with this one. Have we got the 4 best teams in college football?
No. But we've got the 4.
There you go. That's spoken like a true Southerman right there. We don't have the 4 best teams.
We don't have the 4 best teams, but we have the 4 teams that deserve to be there because they won their way there.
Yeah. Well, who should be there that's not?
Well, I didn't say that somebody should be there that's
No,
not. You asked me what the 4 best teams were.
I'm saying, are these the 4 best teams? And if they're the 4 best teams, nobody else should be there. Should they?
If you're you can be a good team that just didn't even make the playoff.
Okay.
I can't follow up with that.
Coach Tony Iruli, are these the 4 best teams? I think they're the 4 best teams in football.
I think Ole Miss is one of the 4 best teams in the country, and they're not there.
I don't.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. But man, they played Duke. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They played Duke in the Mayo Bowl, or not the Mayo Bowl. But
have they played that already?
Yeah, they played the Mayo Bowl.
Okay,
they played it last night.
I was saying, I thought Ole Miss was one of the 4 best teams in the country this year, and they didn't make it in the playoff, and I understand why.
Yeah.
But I don't think they deserve to be playing at the end of this because they didn't win their way there. There's a difference between being a good team because good teams can still lose on bad days.
Yeah. Coach, do we have the 4 best teams in college football?
I think at this point, yes, we do. I think we got 4 teams that are first of all are going to be very similar in terms of being a physical teams. They're going to come right at you. They've played all the teams that are doing all the spread and up tempo type of stuff, and they've handled it very well. And so I think it's turned out good. Like we said, what's interesting is how. The 4 conference champion teams, they didn't make it. The ones with the byes didn't make it. And so this has a lot to these are tough physical teams that very similar.
Donnie Moore, I think we can honestly say that these are the 4 teams that's playing their best football right now. Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement. That's what I was going to say. If you asked me that question, I was going to say the teams that are playing the best football right now. Are still in.
We got the best teams right now. Yeah, and what I'm impressed about, not only the defense that Marcus has brought up, but the quarterbacks. All 4 of these teams have actually quarterbacks. You got Quinn, is it Ewers at Texas, Will Howard at Ohio State, Notre Dame has Riley Leonard, and at Penn State, Drew Aller. And Coach Iruli, these are big, solid quarterbacks that can throw the ball, they can hurt you with the run. They're physical quarterbacks, sort of like a Tim Tebow type guy.
And speaking of big, solid quarterbacks, Texas has got the best backup too.
Yeah, with Manning.
Arch Manning is.
And anywhere else,
he's a horse.
Anywhere else, half his career would be over right now. But he spent half his time there at Texas waiting on a job.
That's right.
But I'm impressed with all 4 of these quarterbacks, and in that Notre Dame Georgia game, Riley Leonard, in my opinion, was the difference maker.
Yeah.
With his
No
ability,
question.
with his ability to run the ball, and that last drive that they had, Notre Dame had, that they were killing the clock,
Right.
and he made that 7-yard run there with time left on the clock where Georgia could have maybe got a score, and he made that 7-yard run right there was an outstanding play.
I just think we got 4 teams that are extremely similar.
Yeah, they really
with each
are.
other. With offensively, the type of their quarterbacks are all very similar. Big, tall guys that throw the ball well, but can go ahead and run physically. They're not the scatter type of quarterbacks that changes a whole bunch of different directions. I mean, they're going to step up. They'll go ahead and make some good, solid runs when need be. And like Marcus mentioned, I mean, the 4 play really great defense, especially against the run.
Plus, this young man, this Smith guy from Ohio State is, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in the country.
Yeah. I mean, you might see these
the
games
way
end
he
up.
ended the season.
Yeah,
The way he,
at least.
the way he's played,
Yes. The way
the
he's
way
playing
played
right now,
the
he's
last
the best,
3 or 4
best
games.
wide receiver in the country.
Toss out the Michigan game because I think they only threw the ball to him 3 times
They
in that
didn't
game.
they didn't target him much.
But
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they learned from that because, and if you look at his numbers versus Oregon, what he did this past weekend versus what he did the first time they played, you can see how much he's grown. I mean, he is.
Yeah.
We're lucky that, or Ohio State's lucky that the rules are different because he would have been a one and done if this was a different era.
Out of those 4 teams, Coach, I guess the one that I would hate to be playing right now would be Ohio State.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State is playing really well. What they did to Tennessee up there, after everybody was saying, well, we need to fire Ryan Day, we need to get rid of him, he can't beat Michigan, and they didn't think they would be ready to play, and they just dominated a good Tennessee defense and team. They dominated them, and then they just went out to Oregon and just absolutely just threw them all over the field, like a rag doll.
Dismantled them.
Yeah, and they were in the toughest bracket.
Yes.
Of all the teams in the playoffs.
Yes.
I mean, that bracket right there.
Yeah.
And you've got to wonder, like, how long are they going to hold on to Chip Kelly as their offensive coordinator after what the game plans he's just thrown out there to dismantle Tennessee and Oregon's defenses?
Yeah.
Because
that's
I think
a good point.
it proved what we thought. Tennessee has a good defense. They got out-schemed and out-coached.
Right.
And the same thing happened to Oregon. They can't defensively. If you watched all those, they weren't breaking away from safeties and cornerbacks. They were just simply open because they had schemed them open.
Right.
Let's talk about some similarities of these teams, and we've talked about coming back from a loss and adversity and using it to propel. Ohio State, they lost to Michigan. They lost to Michigan, and look what they've done. It propelled them.
Yeah.
It made them tougher and harder. Look at Texas. They lost to Georgia twice, and here they are. They're one of the Final 4. They've gone beyond that. Texas, Georgia, Penn State. They lost to Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
They were calling for Franklin's head up there.
Yes, they were.
Because Penn State can't beat Ohio State, see?
Right.
So they were calling, and look what they've done since that game. They have moved forward, and look what Notre Dame's done after losing to Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
I mean, really, they had the worst loss of all, and they're an independent, and they knew that they couldn't afford one more loss and they're done. One more loss and they're out of the playoffs.
Right.
And look what they did. They ran the table.
Yep,
and
sure
more.
did.
Just great stories, all 4 of them.
Yes. So I thought that was an interesting.
But it's like we mentioned. I think all 4 teams, by far, are extremely similar in the way they do things on offense, defense, the way they're coached, their schemes, their personnel, their defense against the run. I mean, I can't think of 4 teams that have been matched up like this, being so similar to each other.
Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned Penn State's quarterback or not, but Drew Allard was their quarterback, their fine quarterback there. And if you look at these quarterbacks, you got Riley Leonard, transfer portal guy.
Yep.
Remember, he came from Duke.
He went to Notre Dame.
Came from Duke. And then you got Drew Allard, transfer portal guy.
Yeah, portal.
Came
Where'd
from
he come from?
Came from Georgia, didn't he?
I think he did.
Came from Georgia.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. Ewers has been at Texas, and Will Howard, was he a transfer portal guy or not? I don't remember. I don't tend to think that he.
I don't think he was.
Something happened because if you remember last year's quarterback at Ohio State, he left because they weren't offering him enough NIL money, and he became the quarterback at Syracuse and had a great season.
Well, I think the most interesting about it is if we were still under the old system.
Yeah.
None of these 4 teams would be in the playoff.
Yeah.
If we were still under the 4-team format, none of these teams would have been picked to be in the playoff.
Nope.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think
So
that would.
if there was an argument to be made that, yes, we needed a bigger, expanded system, this is it.
Yeah. I think out of the 4, before we get out, I think Penn State probably had the easiest road. You agree with that? or not?
I would agree with that.
I think they had the easiest road, and you would have thought they would have been the number 1 pick, but they weren't.
Yeah.
Which I think that goes back to what you're saying. You got to do a better job with the seedings.
Correct. And, going back to what Marcus just said, he made a very good point. If this was last year, those those 4 teams would not have been in the playoffs.
None of those would have been
No,
picked.
I don't know. That's a great point.
Yeah. Well.
You did good.
Yeah.
I try every now and then. Every now and then the nugget will fall.
I want to mention this also for all the Southerners down here that like the Southeastern Conference and really go by that. One of the big slams on Notre Dame is, hey, they're an independent. They're not in a conference. They shouldn't be one of the teams picked every year unless you're in a conference. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, and I'll tell everybody again, they're probably never going to be in a conference, and it's going to boil down to money. Notre Dame, for that Sugar Bowl appearance, got the win, but they also walked away with $14 million. Now, that $14 million, because they're an independent, does not have to be shared with other conference members.
That's right.
So you're from a financial standpoint, and that contract with NBC that they get, there's no way, in my opinion, that you're ever going to see Notre Dame in a conference in football. I'll be shocked, unless they just decide we don't need the money anymore. And they're taking that money up there in South Bend. They're building facilities with it, more buildings. That campus has grown so much since I was up there back in the 60s. It's unbelievable, and it's been built with football money, independent football money.
Yeah.
Just one thing to consider about that, I know we got to go break, Donnie, is the conglomerate they're trying to put together for a streaming service that will combine CBS Sports, ESPN, and Fox into one streaming platform does not include NBC at this moment, and therefore Notre Dame football is on the outside of that. Mm-hmm. So if that package does get approved and does go online, that's going to be a concern for Notre Dame because their revenue stream is going to become finite on that broadcast deal with NBC.
Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see.
Interesting times.
Right now, up to this point, money's talked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, money's talked. Hey, it's time for a break. When we return, we'll be back to close out today's show. You're listening to the GoTeez Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, along with Donnie Moore and Marcus Fitzsimmons and Coach Tony Iruli. And Coach Iruli, these games are going to be played. These playoff games are going to be played on Thursday and Friday night this next week. You a little surprised with that?
Yeah.
Maybe, are you surprised they're not going to be played on Saturday? Or
Nope.
No.
We're not going to go head-to-head with the NFL.
Okay.
That's right. And the NFL's gone into their Saturday games now.
Yeah,
The NFL respected the CFP the first 2 rounds in their scheduling, so the CFP is reciprocating the second 2.
Yeah.
So they're going to play it
One on Thursday, one on Friday.
Thursday, one Friday. Yeah.
And despite requests, they're not going to flip them. There was a request to flip them.
Flip them to get the Notre
Hey,
Dame.
one of the great thing about this playoffs, the great thing about it is you can haul a couple of bowl trophies away. You know, in the past you could just go and get one bowl trophy, but see, they're matching up these bowl games. See, Notre Dame played in the Sugar Bowl, so now they're going to play in the Orange Bowl. See, they're going to play Penn State in the Orange Bowl, so if they beat Penn State, they get the Orange Bowl trophy too. And
2 trophies.
And then you got the Cotton Bowl up there. You can walk away with 2 major trophies in 1 year. What do you think about? And then play for the national championship and get yourself another trophy.
Well, just as long as neither one would get the Mayo Bowl trophy, get poured with mayonnaise.
Oh man, I know. Can you stand that?
I think there'll be one. I think there's one bowl game on today, the Bahamas Bowl. Now that's a game I would want to go.
Yeah.
To. I mean, go to the Bahamas and play a football game.
Aren't you playing on a soccer field down there?
It's in the Bahamas.
Okay, it's in the Bahamas, but I think you're playing on a soccer stadium on a soccer field.
Yeah.
In the Bahamas.
In the Bahamas.
These trophies aren't small, so you're probably going to have to build a trophy case to put these in if you go very far in these playoffs. But I think it's nice that you got the bowl game there. You know, the way they arranged that, I think it's kind of neat. You're not cutting those major bowls out; they all get a part of the playoffs, which I think is kind of
Well,
neat.
it's funny. I was watching that Mayo Bowl game last night, and the announcers, I mean, they were promoting mayonnaise stuff all throughout it. And and one of them ate a snack with the mayonnaise, and he gagged on it right in front of you. Did you see that? I mean, he ate something, and he went, ugh, and reached on over and picked up a garbage pail and all that. So
hey, that Duke's mayonnaise, that's good mayonnaise now. That's good Southern mayonnaise. That Duke, I think it's Southern, isn't it?
It is. It's got twang.
Hey, you're not a kid.
He had a lot of twang when he ate that.
It's the mayonnaise we use at the Edwards house. I can tell you that right now.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I love it when he goes for an endorsement deal.
Well, he turned. That was really good.
Coach, I really is good to see you this
morning.
morning.
Great being here. Good being among friends.
Yep. Donnie Moore, you got a whistle over there?
I do.
All right, let's get out of here.
You ready for a couple of toots?
Hey, that'll do it for today's edition of the GoTeez Sports Page. Thanks to Aaron Ishmael back at Loud Media, our host of the Bluetick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For Donnie Moore, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Coach Tony Iruli, until next Saturday, this is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, wishing everyone good sports.